Hey guys, it's Doxa here, and today we're gonna go over the counter picks to every single mid lane champion. So first off is Ahri, and champions that counter Ahri are Vladimir, Yasuo, especially since you have the wind wall, you can block her charm, her Q, and her W as well as her ult damage. And last one, let's go Syndra, and then the next one, Akali, champions with tanky, lockdown, heavy CC like the Galio, like the Malzahar, are the two best picks against Akali. And then Akshan, this is a champion that does bad, and a lot of ADC champions actually do bad against long-range Mage, Poke, hardstyle lanes like the Victor, like the Orianna, like the Syndra. And for Anivia is very similar as the Akshan, does very poorly against ranged, like the Victor, Orianna. We could even go the Xerath and the Vel'Koz route as well. And Annie, same thing as those champions, but there's also a little bit of a twist here. So we can also add Orianna, Syndra, range, and she actually does bad against tankier mid laners like the Galio because she cannot burst them. And Galio has an ulti that can also defend teammates from Annie all-in. And then Aurelion Soul, basically champions that do a lot of standing, if the champion is standing still, which champion does the most amount of damage? Zed, Yone, Fizz, Assassins, because Aurelion Soul actually has to stand still and breathe on you, and while you do that, an assassin can easily get their combo off and they'll pretty much die. And Aurora, she is also countered by range, the Victor, the Orianna, the Syndra. At the moment, you can see a pattern here of just strong ranged mid laners beating a lot of the other mid laners. And then Azir also does bad against range, but not so bad against Victor, Syndra, and Orianna, but bad against Xerath, Vel'Koz, and Akali actually counters him as well, because once you shroud, you can't auto attack, and Azir is an auto attack based champion. And for Brand, also it's range, but I'm so tired of writing all the range counters. There's some other unique counters like the Kassadin. You can free scale against him, and you can ult basically and dodge his W's, and you can have that nice little magic shield. And let's put in another one, LeBlanc. You can go in and out, dodge his abilities just like Kassadin, and LeBlanc is very mobile, so the R won't bounce too much. And next one is going to be Cassio. This one, there's really no other counters than just ranged champions like the Victor, Syndra, Vel'Koz, Xerath. And for Cho'Gath, you want to pick a mobility champion that also has wave clear to match his wave clear. So something like that will be Ahri. Ahri has her W to dodge Cho'Gath damage and also keep up in wave clear. Or something that outscales him, like the Syndra, again, even though she doesn't have mobility, but you can kind of go 50-50 with him in lane and do a lot more later. And something that provides more utility than him, which is a champion like Galio. Diana, this is a champion that's obviously an assassin champion, which once again gets countered by Galio. And since she's a melee assassin, what counters melee assassins? Champions like Vex, Lissandra. And for Echo, very similar champions that can lock you down like the Liss, like the Vex. And let's add another one, Malzahar. And then the Fizz, same thing as the champions right there. Liss, Malz, Galio, Vex, champions that lock you down. You're an assassin and you just want to all in, and these champions negate that. Galio, champions that counter Galio, is something that you can... I know Vayne is not a mid laner, but Vayne is a very good one against Galio. Tristana, Smolder, an AD mid laner, like an AD caster, maybe even Jace is okay. It's not as good as the three up there, but basically AD champions that are AD carry like or AD Mage like. For Gragas, Ari, champion that can poke him, do wave clear, and also avoid his all-in. Ari has her W, her alt, can avoid his body slam, his alt, etc. And also this is a nice one, Silas. Silas can also E away from his damage, and now you max Q on Silas, so you can poke him out like that. And then for Gwen, she's not really a mid laner, so let's skip that. And then Hui, LeBlanc, champion that can actually go into her face so she can't breathe. Let's add a couple more here. Let's do Zed as well, and let's also add Silas, because right now Silas is strong, and like we said, as long as you can go in their face, Hui doesn't like that. She's a control mage. So these assassin-like champions do well against her. And then Irelia, Akali is the first thing that comes into my mind. You can use your Shrug to dodge your auto attacks, and then LeBlanc's a really good one. You can use your W, your Q to dodge out on his on her E, which if she lands E, she wins. If she doesn't, she most likely does not win the trade. And then we go on to Jace. Syndra's a very good one for this one. You can poke him, and if he tries to all-in you, you can just E him back. Another good one is Orianna, something that outranges him. And another decent one is also Zed. You can basically dodge every single ability with Zed Shadows and his ultimate. And then Kassadin is a AP. Alright. Kassadin does very good against AP heavy team comps and AP mid laners. So what do you want to pick? You want to pick AD. So you go to Yone, you go to Yasuo, you go to Zed. Pretty simple stuff. Or any AD carry like the Tristana. Even the Smolder is alright, but not the best. And then Katarina, I mean, her laning phase is so weak, so I could basically put anyone, but we can just go ahead and put something like Orianna's good too. Let's try something different. Let's go Vladimir. Just anything can really just beat her out in lane. But the hard counters, I would say like Annie. Maybe the Galio, lock her up even later stage of the game. Lysandra is good too. It's just an endless amount for her. And then for Kayle, same thing here. Just anything that pokes her down. Syndra, Ori. Let's try to be more creative here. Even the Akali does really well against her. She just needs to scale. She's a scaling champion. She basically loses lane to everyone. And then LeBlanc. Victor does very well against her. Victor can out-trade her and out-poke her with range. Galio is one of the big counters for LeBlanc. She's an assassin. Galio's an MR tanky champion. I mean, I see a Scion. I almost said Scion, which is a counter to LeBlanc, but let's try to stick to more traditional mid laners like the Ryze. The Ryze counters LeBlanc. Tanky, does damage, and outduels her. Lysandra is like rock, paper. You need to think about it as rock, paper, scissors. So basically she counters the melees, and then she gets countered by the ranges. And what I mean by ranges is like the Syndra, the Oriannas, the Vel'Kozes, and the Xeraths. There's rock, paper, scissors there. And then Lux is countered by something that could go in, dodge her abilities at the same time. LeBlanc, you can even put Ari after 6. Let's add another one here. I would even say Akali after level 6. You can really dash in on her. Before that, it can be hard, but I will list that as a counter pick because games are on average 30 minutes long. After the first 15 minutes, Akali basically dominates Lux in the side lane and whatnot. Malphite, very straightforward. Just any AP champion. Let's just put Silas. And then Malzahar, anything that can stack on his Void Link, because he spawns Void Links all the time. Like the Smolder, you can stack Smolder Q, you can stack Veigar Q, you could get gold off gold as Twisted Fate against Malzahar. Mel, champions that do well even though she has a reflect. So champions like Yone, Yone is a bit tough if Mel's good at laning, so let's actually just remove that and let's put something like an Azir. You basically poke her, auto attack her, and she doesn't really have anything to spell shield. Champions like Orianna, nothing really to spell shield either here. And Syndra's also good against her. Same concept, nothing really to spell shield, and you can just poke her with your kit. And then Neferi is an AD assassin. Surprise, surprise. Lissandra, his aura is very telegraphed, so if he ults onto you, Lissandra can just ult, completely negate that. And then an AD assassin that I like against Neferi is Zed. Once again, telegraphed ult. He ults, you ult that, you negate his ult, and you do ult damage back to him. And then this is an underrated one, Akali. Akali just stat checks the shit out of him, and you can just play worse than he does, and you can just win just through pure stats. Orianna, this champion has not a lot of counters, I'll be honest, but when you do want to pick against her, you would look at something like an assassin. Especially in the lower elos, you can really punish the control mages, like the Fizz, the Yone. But in the higher elos, what I do seem to work well against Orianna is something like a Zoe and something like a LeBlanc as well. Pantheon, champions that do really good against that are Cassio. You have that self-peel. Champions with self-peel and that have mage range type of champions like Cassio, like Syndra with her E, really good against Pantheon. And then for Kiana, same shit. You could even put Galio, even though she's an AD champion. Galio is a tanky champion. Assassins don't do well against tanks. Malzahar is completely annoying for her as well. And then Rise too, tanky, does damage and just sustains her burst. Riven, more so these days, are like she's being paid a lot mid lane. Cassio, her W basically stops all her movement abilities, and she just can't do anything to Cassio, because if you actually try to ult in her, she can just ult as well. What else should I put? Syndra as well. Riven tries to go in, she gets eat away and then poked throughout the lane phase. For Rise, the classic Rise counter is Cassio. She will out DPS you, and it's just a traditional counter known for many years. And I would also put things that have lots of range, like the Syndra, like the Xerath, like the Vel'Koz, because Rise is a bit of a T-Rex arm champion. And then I wasn't going to talk about Sion, but we do see some Sion mids a lot more now than recently, or than previous. And I think it's maybe Bowsy playing it a lot that inspired people. We're not too sure, but for Sion, Cassio does also really good, but you want something with more mobility. So like something like an Ari, so you can dodge out on his abilities, but also deal damage. And then like a Syndra, when he's charging up the Q, you can just E him back. Going to Smolder, I mean, pretty much every mage just stat checks the shit out of him. So you can just pick one of your mages of choice, Victor, Syndra, or you could even go or you could even go the assassin route and go something like Zed Echo. Like, you can punish Smolder just as easy as you could punish something like a Kale. Just a scaling champion that can be easily abused in the mid lane. For Swain, I like Silas a lot. Silas takes Swain ult and it's disgustingly broken, and stat checks him throughout. And Swain is a tankier champion that needs to really get cut down by like a champion like Yasuo Yone that builds Bork. And he also does bad against range. He's pretty tier Rex armed. And then Syndra right now is triple S tier. She doesn't really have too many counters, but if I were to pick a counter to the Syndra, I would go something like a Fizz, something that could go in and dodge her abilities at the same time. Something like a Zed. You could dodge her E and do damage to her at the same time, type of thing. Traditionally, also, champions like Xerath can just stand very far away and poke her down without being in a range. I like the Zoe as well. I'll add that one in. Why not? And then for Talia, Zed, Zoe, things that have like instantaneous dashes like Zoe ult, ZW, cast hidden aura. You can really avoid the pebbles on the ground that she places down. And with these champions, you have mobility to dodge her Qs. Talon, another 8 assassin champion, Malzahar, even Galio, Lysandra, Vex, just these type of champions just counters assassins just in general. Tristana, this is a little tricky one. Syndra's very good. If he tries to dash into you, you E him back, and then you poke him throughout the lane phase. Cassio's a really good one. You can just outduel him, so he basically has no way to win the matchup unless he gets a gank, something like this. And another underrated one is Azir. You poke him with your range. If he jumps in, you ult him towards your turret. Twisted Fate. This champion is very, very strong right now, and I struggled to find too many good counters against him. But just being a really good control mage player and poking him down and trying to lower his CS count is the way I would approach it. So the same thing, Syndra, Ori, Victor, these type of champions that can actually whittle his CS numbers down and try to make him as useless as possible. LeBlanc's also good at doing that. And then Veigar, champions with jump, very similar to Leah. So Cassian, Zed, Zoe I wouldn't include because you actually go back and you'll still be stuck in the cage if that's the case. And then something that has range like the Xerath, and the Vel'Koz as well, because Veigar can't really ever touch these champions. Vel'Koz, LeBlanc is amazing against Vel'Koz. Anything that could go into his face, fight him. He wants to be far away from you. You want to get close to him. Even Ahri, ulting and Eing. Anything with mobility that can gap close. Vex, this is the counter to all the melee assassin type of champions. And the way to counter it, like I mentioned earlier with Lysandra, it's rock, paper, scissors. So you want something with range, like the Syndra, Ori, even the Xerath too. Like, it's just rock, paper, scissors. Like, assassins, gap closers beat the Vel'Koz Xeraths, and then the Vel'Koz Xeraths beat the low range mages, and the low range mages beat the assassins. So it's just rock, paper, scissors type stuff. And then for Victor, he also doesn't have too many counters like the Orianna and the Syndras. But if I were to go a Victor counter, I would go something like Rise, maybe even Galio, because you want to like push the wave and make impact elsewhere, because Victor is not very good at skirmishing, and he doesn't do very good in early fights. So you want to make roams and things happen, basically. So Rise, Galio is very, very, very good at that. Vladimir, Cassio's very good. Anything that could like DPS him down like very quickly, Cassio, Rise, and then anything that has nice range, Orianna, Syndra. These are the champions that Victor always, Vladimir always bans. Xerath, champions like LeBlanc, same thing as the Vel'Koz. Champions that can really gap close onto you, like the Zed, like the Ahri. Just anything that could get into your face and not let you poke. Xin Zhao mid. Xin Zhao mid is, it got nerfed a lot. I honestly don't think it's too viable, so we're not going to include that. Yasuo, anything with lockdown, the Malzahar. Yasuo does have a very strong laning phase. He usually just tends to fall off later. But honestly, let's just fuck it. Let's add the Sion too. Sion does counter Yasuo. You're super tanky, you wave clear, you don't let him kill you. And then something like a Malphite, since he's in the list. Let's just add that as well. And let's add one more. Let's add Lysandra for lockdown. And let's add another one. Let's add LeBlanc. It's another hard match. Let's add another one. Let's add Akali. We can go on forever. And then Yone is very, very similar as Yasuo, so we can just copy and paste this. It's a very similar functioning champion. I would say Yasuo is stronger in lane, but scales way worse. While Yone is weaker in lane and scales way better, just because how the kit is, not the stats, how the kit is, because Yone can be using his E to fight and E back. Yasuo needs to rely on ults, and there's no real way of him escaping a fight once he goes in, which is actually a big difference in later stages of the game. Zed, AD Assassin, something that is tanky, usually does good against him, like a Malphite. Let's see, like Malzahar, Lysandra even. But Zed in a Zed is so strong right now. He can just take first strike against all these champions and kind of just farm gold off him. I would add Silas actually to that list. Silas outduels Zed very, very easily. And then let's add one more. Let's add a Yasuo or Yone too, because it's the same concept as a Silas. Zed needs to play with cooldown based and very, very safe and land poke before doing anything, because these champions just stat check him head on. Ziggs. Ziggs is basically Vel'Koz and Xerath. Everywhere you see Vel'Koz and Xerath, you can basically put Ziggs as well, and vice versa. So the counters are LeBlanc, Zed, things that can gap close. I like a nice one, Kassadin. You can scale easily. You can add Kassadin for Vel'Koz as well here. Like it's like these are the same archetype of champions, so like the counters will be the same. And then finally, last but not least, Zoe. Once again, this is another poke champion. We can just add LeBlanc, Zed, champions like gap close. The one I really like against Zoe is Yasuo. Not only can you gap close with your E, you can also win wall. And then Akali is very good against Zoe. You can sustain her tough laning phase and then all in her after. If you guys are interested in mid lane educational content, this is the channel you need to be at. You will gain a lot of value by just pressing subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys.